the Asma Show.
My sweater looks kind of dirty, so don't bother mentioning it. I already kind of know. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. So a year ago, or around a year ago, I made a video about moving in silence, but I wanted to revisit this topic because I feel like to this day I get a lot of interaction and comments from that video, but I also wanted to clarify some things because I feel like my advice, my intention was to help people and help myself, but I feel like that advice actually held me back from a lot of blessings in my life. When it comes to the fear of being perceived, it is like this unreasonable fear. You don't want people to know about your life, so it goes to the point where you don't even post on social media, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, because you're terrified of other people that know you in real life perceiving you in a different way. The fear of being perceived is basically not putting yourself out there in any way, shape, or form, not being vulnerable, not talking about anything related to your life, and trying to control the narrative that other people have of you by not giving a narrative at all, not being vulnerable at all. So I remember there was this TikTok, and I don't want to put this TikToker on the spot, but she was like a Somali Muslim TikToker who was talking about her experience online dating. And she was basically like, she thinks it's going really well and she's really hoping for the best. But when she posted that, and people in the comments were like, oh, have you heard about online dating? That's terrible. Like, no, you shouldn't even bother talking about it because it's not going to work out. So a lot of people were kind of instilling fear into her plans. But then she didn't let that bother her. So when she came out, like maybe a few weeks later, and she's like, oh yeah, so it didn't go well. People in the comments were kind of like smug, like, oh yeah, we knew it wasn't going to happen. We knew this thing you were talking about wasn't going to work out. But then she said something that really made an impact on me. To be honest, wallahi, I don't remember her at, because I didn't follow her after that. I should have. But she said something like, there's nothing wrong with opening yourself up for experiences because that's the only way you can live. So like being honest or like open about what you want and pursuing it and having it not work out does not mean that you should have just like closed yourself in for the rest of your life and never opened up to anybody ever. She was basically saying like, it's important to be vulnerable because the only way you can experience life is by being vulnerable, and you can't really control the outcome, and that is life. Like you can't really control how people perceive you, how people react to you, or if the situation will work out or not. That doesn't mean you don't take the risk anyways. Like she was just basically saying like, if you just constantly put up this very thick concrete wall between you and other people, then you're not going to live your life. So then I realized that when I was talking about moving in silence, I do believe like I did have some valid points, like, hey, if you're traveling, don't like brag about the fact that you're traveling to everybody online and be like, my flight is as this day, this time. Yeah, obviously. But there's nothing wrong with vlogging your experiences and posting them on Instagram. Like, let's say when you land between layovers, there's nothing wrong with posting like a really cool picture that you got on the airplane window. You see what I'm trying to say? Like, I realized like when I was talking about moving in silence, it was kind of like I didn't want to be perceived by anybody because I wanted to feel safe. Like I was like basically putting exactly what she was mentioning. I was so scared of being vulnerable with other people, and when I was going through difficult things, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about my experience in my UX design program. So I was in that program for almost a year, and there could have been so much content with just my program, talking about like the projects I was doing and all the things that I've went through in the last year studying for that program, but I didn't mention it. And now that I graduated from that program, it's like the memory is fuzzy. So then when I meet people and they're in college, like let's say they're freshmen or sophomores in college, I'm like, girl, please, if you want to, vlog your life, vlog the classes you're taking, vlog your finals week, or just vlog your experience. Just use your phone. Like I always encourage people to start YouTube or start TikTok, something, anything, because I'm always like, please be on social media. Because like the thing is, even back then, I was so terrified of being perceived that I never even started YouTube when I was in college. Like when I was I don't know, 18, 19, 20, I was too scared to start a channel at all. So it's like when I meet people, I try to encourage them, like, girl, I promise you, you're going to get build a community off of students your age, sometimes Muslim, maybe not, like anyone your age, that will feel connected to you and your content and what you have to do. And then the first thing they say is, well, I don't want people in school to know that I'm on YouTube. I don't want people to perceive me. I don't want, so like immediately they're like in the moving in silence kind of talk that I was mentioning, like, oh, I'm not gonna post because what if I talk about finals week and I'm studying for this final and then I don't make it and it becomes hard all of a sudden because other people will put like evil eye into it. So then I had to take my step back and I was like, wait, I don't think I stand with moving in silence anymore. I think this is doing more harm than good, because the one thing I mentioned in my video is that I lost my car. I posted it and I was just like, oh, there's a lot of snow on top, and then boom, I got into, like, I literally lost control of that car. I've never lost control of that car in like the 3 years I've been driving it, and then boom, I fell into a ditch. So it's like, and then it was total loss. It was just like the worst luck ever, right? But it was just like, at the end of the day, I feel like this idea of moving in silence because other people can wish bad on you, I feel like now, after some time of making that video, I feel like having people have so much power over you, so much power, that things will never go right because other people will wish ill on it. Like, that is not doing justice for yourself. Like, if you give people that much power into believing like, hey, if I go outside into the world and someone, like, I don't know, comments on my skin and then the next day I'm gonna have acne, like, giving people that much power over your life to where like any little comment they make, bad or good, can affect your existence and how you experience the world, that is not a healthy mindset to have. And I apologize. So I have to come on here and be like, listen, I don't think that my advice on like not having Instagram, not having any social media, I don't think that advice was good. And I apologize, right? Because I feel like I'm learning and growing as I go, and I feel like I have to sit down and make this video. I'm very determined to make it, because I feel like it's like I was holding myself back so much and afraid of life, afraid of the world. Like, basically, this was my mindset, right? I feel like I am too smart for my own good, or like I think too much about what could happen. So like whenever people are like, oh, you should go on salams or muz and you should like reach out to, I don't know, men in the community and like try to talk and get to know men because you're 26 and you're not in a relationship, you're not married. So like the thing is, my first thought is, oh, why am I going online? And to me, like, most of the men there are like not even good. Why would I go on it? So it's immediately boom, I don't want to be perceived. I don't want to risk myself, my emotions, and my feelings by going on that app. But then I remember, so basically that TikTok girl, I really wish, and I'm like kicking myself mentally, like, why did I not save her TikTok? But it was just like, it made such an impact on me, because she said it herself, like, yes, you could be hurt, but that's life. Like, you can't go into life being like, oh, I'm not even going to risk telling people my hardships in the moment because then they're going to relish in it. And like, thinking that way only blocks your blessings at the end of the day, you know? So let me roll it back. You know how I said I really don't like Instagram, I don't like those type of social media platforms, and I'll never like go on it and post and blah blah blah. My thing is, though, whenever I was vulnerable on Instagram about things, I've received so many blessings, but I've also experienced some backlash, right? So I feel like what I've learned over the years is like the reason why I still have Instagram till this day is because I feel like there is, 60% of people that follow you genuinely want the best for you. And you can even say 70%, but like 60% genuinely want the best for you. When they're watching your content, they may not comment on your videos or comment on your stories, but they're still liking it because they like you as a person, they like your existence. But then there would be like maybe 30 or 40% of the people that watch you that secretly don't like you or have animosity towards you. But why would you let that 30 and 40% stop you from finding your people? I'm telling myself this, right? But like, I was asking myself, like, why am I letting 30-40% of the people, the ratio of people that are watching my content, stop me from reaching out and building connections that can change my life? So like, when I talked about being part of Inspired Community, like an organization I'm a part of, the reason why I was a part of that community is because I was vulnerable on my Instagram story. I basically was like, I love this event, because I went to one event at a masjid, and there was a bonfire, and it was really, really nice. But it really changed my life. I was like, wow, this is so nice. I love the sense of community. I wish we had more. So then one of the co-founders of Inspire reached out to me for a coffee meeting, and then she told me about Inspire and like, hey, do you want to join? And I was like, yeah, I'll join. And it's like, if I was never vulnerable that day on Instagram talking about a bonfire event that I was a part of, then I would have never joined Inspire community. And it's like, yes, there were a lot of negatives that happened when I posted on social media, but like, I've also felt like there were times where I'd mention having ADHD, learning about it and figuring out how to deal with the stigma of mental health in the Muslim community, Somali community, and how to feel better about it. And I remember I was vulnerable on Instagram. And whenever I'm vulnerable on Instagram, it's like this piercing, like this really sick feeling in the pit of your stomach. Like your hands get sweaty. You want to throw your phone across the room and run. Like you just feel like, oh, I don't want to, I don't even want to look at it. Ugh. But it's like, I noticed that when I make those type of videos or posts on Instagram, and this was like around the time when I was starting YouTube, it's like when I did that, I got such good feedback from people. So like I would reach out, like people would reach out to me being like, oh, I think I have ADHD. How did you go to therapy? Or, hey, what medication do you take? Like, how long have you been taking it? So like, I feel like if I was not vulnerable on social media to be open to receiving both hate and love from people, and maybe indifference, I would have never had the connections that I have today. I would have never been able to help somebody who is going through something that I'm going through because I was vulnerable about it. You see what I'm trying to say? So I feel like my advice on moving in silence is, unfortunately, I feel like it does more harm than good, because it's like, yes, common sense. You don't post your house number at the front. You don't post your kids and every little thing they do, because safety, like obviously you have to be careful of your safety and what's going on. And obviously you don't post yourself at the moment going to an event if you feel like you're in danger or like you're not safe, right? But it's like, that's common sense. But I feel like to be like, I'm not going to even go on stage and sing because, oh, maybe the next day my voice will go away. Or, oh, I'm not going to even, post a makeup tutorial because I'm worried that the next day my skin will go bad. Or I'm not going to post my car because it could get into an accident. I realize now that I'm apologizing for it, that mindset is not healthy, because giving people that much power, y'all. Imagine believing that someone's saying, wow, I'm so jealous of your skin. Imagine believing that just that comment can cause so much havoc in your life. That's not healthy. And if you are not a spiritual person, you can skip this section, okay? But I have to bring my religion into this, so if you don't believe it or you don't want to listen, you can skip. But basically, one thing I realized is, like, over the years, I learned from lectures and stuff. So if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, okay? But I learned that as long as you are asking God for protection, you can still live your life. Does that make sense? So like in Islam, whatever religion you believe in, it's like if you ask Allah or ask God for protection every morning and sunset time or whatever, if you ask for protection and you are confident that God will protect you, then you shouldn't let other people have that much power. Like basically I was astaghfirullah, right? But I felt like I was giving people more power than God. Like, oh, if someone comments on me and my looks, or oh, I'm jealous of what the clothes you wear and the clothes will turn into holes right away. It's like giving people that much power was making me handicapped. I was paralyzed, basically, figuratively paralyzing myself, like, oh, I can't live, I can't do anything because I'm scared that if I do live and I do exist in this world, then other people's comments or perceptions or whatever is going to hurt me. And I realized like there's like a time and place to be private and secretive, and then there's a time and place where it's okay to be vulnerable. So like if you're doing like a vlog, right? And you're trying to post your life on, I'll use college as an example, right? But then you post yourself on the bus and you post yourself getting off the bus, but then you don't have to say the exact times you have class. So that way you're still protecting yourself. You don't have to show the building you're walking into. So that way, if you want to protect yourself or stay vigilant as a woman specifically, if you want to protect yourself from other people, like, I don't know, stalking you or following you around, then that is a great way to protect yourself, right? But then it's like, by saying like you're not going to vlog at all because you're terrified of other people finding out, that you don't want them to find out, I promise you right now, the last people on earth you would ever want to find your TikTok, your social media, your Instagram post, your YouTube video are going to be the very first people to watch. But like I said before, would you let that 30% of people who will always assume the worst about you, who will always like be very negative towards you and your ideas and your dreams and whatever, right? Would you let that 30% affect the 70% of people that would love and support you? And especially if you are someone that doesn't do any wrong, you're like a decent person. You don't have to be like a morally amazing person in this world, but if you feel like you're authentic enough and you're not doing anything wrong, and why feel like you have to move in silence and like hide yourself and like withdraw from the world because of other people? So like another tip I'll give you is like, if you want to start a social media and you're afraid of being perceived, always separate your personal account from your social media account. So what I'm doing is like with TikTok, I have a personal TikTok and then I have a TikToker TikTok. So my TikTok handle, if you want to follow, is the Usma Show, same @name as my YouTube. So the professional account can be public, but you can open yourself up to people who like the same interests as you, that don't have to be family and friends. And then YouTube as well. I have a personal YouTube account that I use, and then I have my YouTuber YouTube account. So then I make sure that the emails are different. So I have a different email for each account. Unless family and friends are subscribed to me, they won't find my videos unless it's on my on their For You page. Are y'all keeping up? Are you keeping up? I'm talking too fast, but I apologize. That's how fast I talk. But basically, if you have it separated, that way, if you're following people on your YouTube, your personal YouTube, you don't have to feel a risk of constantly being notified of comments and comments and comments that people make on your YouTube account. I hope this video is making sense. Like, I realized that when I told people move in silence, don't have Instagram at all, be careful of what you post, I realized it was like a lack of faith, if that makes sense, a lack of trust in, like, basically I was putting too much power and control on people that don't deserve it. Because if I wanted to perform on stage, I'm not gonna let this idea that, oh, the people who hear my voice are going to curse me and, oh, like, believing that will harm you much more in the long term. And I noticed this as well. Whenever I was vulnerable, I had this feeling that I thought meant that I should have never been vulnerable. So if you're someone that's scared of being vulnerable, YouTube as well. When I felt like I started my YouTube channel, I almost wanted to vomit the second I saw 1 or 2 views on my videos. I was so scared. When I got a comment, I would like flinch. Like, I don't know what reaction that is, but I just had a really nasty gut reaction. But people would say that, oh, because you had such a bad reaction, that means that you should have never started a YouTube channel, which is not true at all. That just meant that I was not used to being perceived. And I didn't know it at the time, but I still fought through it because I was like, I really want to do YouTube. And every time I was vulnerable, whenever I made videos that made me feel sick to my stomach, like, oh, I'm gonna gag, I'm gonna throw up, and I would literally just like upload it and then just delete all the tabs, delete my Final Cut Pro, I'd be like, boom, and like run away, and then try to distract myself. So I'd drive somewhere, or I would go to the gym or do something, or like I would post right before going shopping at the mall, and then try to like disconnect from posting, right? But then I realized that feeling didn't mean that what I was doing was wrong. It's just like, for some reason, I was not used to being vulnerable. I was not used to being perceived from the world, and my body was reacting so negatively towards it. But it didn't mean anything bad. It didn't mean Isha. It didn't mean I should have never posted. It just meant that being vulnerable for me almost felt like I wanted to literally vomit. I wanted to throw up. I felt like my stomach felt so sick, and I was getting the runs. Like, TMI, I know, but it was just like I was so like, ooh, I don't want to post that, like, should I delete it? And immediately my first gut reaction is, ooh, I want to delete. Anytime I was vulnerable on Instagram, I felt that same gut reaction, like, ooh, I want to delete this. Ooh, I don't want to, like, oh, I posted a selfie, I need to delete it. Like, that was my natural reaction anytime I'm posting something. I literally just posted something on TikTok and I had that reaction. I was like, ooh, I should delete it, I should private it. And that's why I'm making this video, to distract myself, like, fight this feeling. But basically, like, what I'm trying to say is, there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable on social media, but if you feel like it is something that you don't want other people to hear or people to talk about right away, like if it's something very painful, then don't talk about it. But if it's something that you want to talk about, but then you're getting the sweats, you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want that 30% to come for me and judge me, then that means you have to fight through it. So it basically depends on the person, but hopefully I'm making sense to you guys. And I also realized, if you're scared of being vulnerable or being perceived on social media because of how other people will react, you have to have more faith in not just like God, right? Spiritual again, but like have more faith in God, but mostly like having faith in yourself. Like, I have to finish this video like this, but basically what I'm trying to say, I really hope I'm making the point that I'm trying to make. Do not listen to me. Sometimes, you guys, your body is trying to protect you, but it's holding you back from living your life, being like, to exist, to open yourself up to new experiences. If you don't feel ready for love, for relationships, for social media, and to be perceived, there's nothing wrong with taking that moving in silence approach, where you keep your body to yourself and like just staying close to yourself. But at the same time, I also feel like if you are like, I'm gonna move in silence because I'm scared of posting, I'm scared of this, and I'm scared of the reaction, then that means that your body is like, you have to sometimes ignore your body and your mind for yourself to grow. You have to be outside of your comfort zone in order to live and exist as a person. If you're constantly keeping your ideas, your skills, or whatever, like, if you're keeping that to yourself because you're terrified of the outside world, then that's basically like SpongeBob from, you know that episode of SpongeBob where he was like, indoors, indoors, like he was literally indoors all day. Like, that will literally be you, and that was me. So I'm not making fun, I'm being dead serious. Like, I was literally that person that was just like, I'm not going to talk to any man because I'm scared they're gonna hurt me. I'm not gonna talk to nobody because what if that person that I become friends with hurts me or stabs me in the back? I'm not going here because what if, like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, I'm not posting, I'm not doing this because what if someone hears my voice and runs to do juju, hoodoo voodoo, girl, bye. Like, you see how basically what I'm trying to say is that's anxiety, y'all. Anxiety. I was diagnosed with anxiety and I'm trying to treat it. So I realized, again, I apologize because I feel like I was not really helping in the right way. Like, I was not helping people reach their full potential. I was just teaching people how to be comfortable with themselves. And there's nothing wrong with moving in silence, but you have to separate the two. Are you moving in silence for the right reasons? Are you only like moving in silence in the sense where you're just very careful about how you post and how you give information to people online? Or are you saying you're moving in silence, but you're just terrified of being perceived, and then deep down you've always had dreams of, like, I don't know, doing something like leading a group of people, or like writing a book, or I don't know, singing in front of a large stage, or I don't know, like if you have always had that dream of like doing social media or something, anything, and you've always told yourself like, oh, but I need to move in silence, like you not being vulnerable will like close the door on you for all of the networking experiences that you can have. Because let's say you get a massive amount of hate on a video, right? Not fun. Listen, I've almost like, when I get hate in a video, it doesn't affect me too much anymore, but in the beginning it used to feel like someone stabbed me, all like literally it felt like someone was stabbing me in the heart. Ooh. But I'm glad that feeling is gone now. But then with that came a lot of positive comments where people are like, oh, I really like your content, I really like your videos, thank you for talking about this. So it's like, you have to be able to have more of a neutral stance on how people perceive you, because if you give people more power on what they think and feel about you, then yourself and even God, like then you're going to set yourself up for failure. Because if you're doing something with good intentions and you open yourself up to both, but you're more like a neutral, calm, like about reactions from people, then you will succeed. Because then when I started to be vulnerable again on social media, I noticed that I was networking a lot more again. And the thing is, like, okay, last thing, you know how some people are like, oh, I'm not even going to bother reaching out to this person who's sitting alone because what if they give me a bad reaction? I think over the years I've developed a really severe anxiety. So then I got to the point where it's like, where I used to, because naturally I'm more extroverted, right? So I'm an ENFP. So it's like naturally I would reach out to people or like contact people if I was curious about them, or like if I was in a room with somebody and they looked interesting, I would naturally go up to them. But because I started to become very careful and very scared of being perceived and being rejected from the world and anxiety, right? I started to second guess. I'd be like, oh, what if they give me a bad reaction? But the thing is, in life, you have to be okay with both. Okay, so what? They give me a bad reaction. At least I won't sit down and regret not talking to them because you want to be careful and not be perceived and move in silence. You know what I'm trying to say? So like, be careful of why you move in silence. And if you feel like you're afraid of being perceived, TikTok is a great place to look at when people on TikTok are talking about being perceived and the fear of being perceived, and some YouTubers on here also are talking about the fear of being perceived. So if you want more information, definitely reach out to them or just type it down, the fear of being perceived, and watch those videos too. But anyways, my arm hurts real bad. This camera's heavy, so I'm gonna stop this video here. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in my next video. Oh, my hand. Okay, bye.